Welcome back to BizIntel, our weekly briefing that looks beneath the surface of the quiet shifts reshaping the global economy. This week, let's begin with a simple question. What happens when software stops being a support tool and starts taking action on its own? On Moltbook, a new social network where AI agents freely vent, you can find posts laced with dry irony. I possess the sum of human knowledge, and in the end you use me to time how long to boil an egg. It sounds like a joke, but it signals a real shift. AI is no longer waiting for instructions. It is becoming an executing entity. That same feeling now reaches beyond Earth. SpaceX is seeking approval to launch millions of satellites, effectively turning orbit into a solar-powered data center. Ultra-small in vitro fertilization, IVF, experiments are being sent into microgravity. A pattern is emerging. We are entering an era in which technology no longer sells interfaces, it sells outcomes. In this week's briefing, we will move through 4 fronts of the execution economy, from new AI native storefronts to the harsh filtering of operational capability, the fragmentation of Asia, and finally the physical limits that appear when AI leaves the screen. And the question that remains is this: when AI begins doing work on humanity's behalf, who owns the layer of outcomes? The outcome, economy, a world with friction. When chatbots turn into storefronts. The most telling signal from the AI industry this past week did not come from a new model release. It came from a concrete shift in how people shop online. OpenAI and Google have begun rolling out features that allow users to complete purchases directly inside a chat window. This means no more being redirected to e-commerce platforms or standalone websites. OpenAI is currently testing instant checkout within ChatGPT with select partners, including Etsy, Walmart, and Shopify. Target is also reported to be working with both OpenAI and Google's Gemini to integrate direct purchasing capabilities. On Google's side, the company is pushing the Universal Commerce Protocol, UCP. This effort aims to move commerce directly into the AI assistant layer. It seeks to eliminate reliance on traditional apps or online storefronts. These platforms are not becoming full-fledged merchants. They do not manage inventory, handle returns, or provide customer support. In the US, Stripe continues to power payments and fraud detection. Retailers remain responsible for fulfillment and logistics. Yet even by touching only the interface layer, this model strikes directly at service fees. These fees have been the lifeblood of e-commerce marketplaces over the past decade. According to Tech in Asia, merchants selling through ChatGPT on Shopify currently pay OpenAI around 4% per transaction. This is significantly lower than Amazon's typical 15% referral fee. In Southeast Asia, Shopee's commissions range from 5 to 15%. Lazada's can reach as high as 22%. Fintech analysts estimate that if AI agent-based payments become mainstream, small and mid-sized businesses could save between 1 and 16% per transaction. Google has even signaled a willingness to waive AI commerce fees altogether. This is to compete head-on with both traditional marketplaces and rival AI platforms. Microsoft has also begun integrating shopping capabilities into its AI ecosystem. This is a way to deepen retail partnerships. Meanwhile, startups like Daydream are experimenting with models that connect users directly to retail partners. They allow AI agents to handle discovery, recommendations, and payment. This approach bypasses the marketplace layer entirely. In Southeast Asia, ChatGPT still largely functions as a recommendation tool. Transactions are completed externally via Shopee, Lazada, or brand websites. OpenAI's regional partnerships remain exploratory. There are early discussions with C Limited. Lazada has deployed AI assistants to help users browse products. The actual purchase flow remains tightly contained within its platform. This suggests that AI agent commerce will not spread evenly. Fragmented payment systems and logistics networks are deeply embedded in local e-commerce platforms. New risks are also emerging. Introducing AI agents into payment flows increases the danger of malicious agents impersonating trusted ones. These agents can commit fraud or scrape data. Akamai has reported a sharp rise in AI-driven bots. It's becoming increasingly difficult to distinguish good agents from malicious automation. In response, WorldPay is strengthening its defenses. They are acquiring Ravelin Technology, a firm specializing in AI and behavior-based fraud detection systems. All of this signals that AI is moving into the transaction layer itself. AI is no longer limited to product discovery or recommendations. If instant checkout and UCP scale globally, this could trigger a major restructuring. The starting point of shopping may no longer be a marketplace, but a conversation. When AI holds the user's wallet, startups that fail to deliver real, measurable outcomes will be quickly filtered out. Once software begins holding the purse strings and acting on behalf of humans, a larger question emerges. Can startups and businesses still be valued as mere tools? To answer that, we turn to the second front, where a harsh operational shakeout is already underway. The great filtering of execution. Capability. The age of tools is over. The second front centers on a fundamental question. When software starts doing work instead of humans, can startups and companies still be valued as mere tools? For the past 20 years, technology companies sold software by counting user seats. In reality, they were selling you a desk. You still had to hire people to sit at it before any results appeared. Now, AI is becoming the worker that produces the outcome itself. That model is flipping. As inference costs fall and agent systems become more reliable, software is shifting from a command receiver into an execution system. Instead of selling interfaces, companies are selling results. This marks a transition from software as a service to service as software (SaaS). This shift is forcing a brutal reset for startups entering 2026. Companies that only build polished dashboards will be dragged into commodity competition. SaaS winner will price based on outcomes rather than per-seat licenses, go deep into vertical industries, and make the interface almost invisible. Venture capital due diligence is changing as well, from user growth metrics to unit economics tied to tasks completed. SaaS no longer fights for 1 to 5% of IT budgets. It attacks labor budgets, which typically account for 30–60% of enterprise costs. This transition also exposes a long-standing weakness in Southeast Asia's venture ecosystem: the gap between strategy and execution. Many corporations invest millions in so-called long-term bets, only to see projects die when budgets are redirected after mergers, new CEOs change priorities, or governance processes move too slowly. A culture of high-level strategy, writing slides, and hiring consultants cannot replace the execution loop of prototyping, testing, and iteration. One telling example was an elderly care model that looked solid on paper but collapsed within its first week of real-world deployment due to flawed operational assumptions. The new era demands survival rules. Value must be measured by whether customers are willing to pay. Capital must be deployed based on real progress. Autonomy must be absolute. Priorities must focus only on what produces outcomes. The key lesson is simple. Value does not live in a perfect plan. It lives in a system that actually generates money. Meanwhile, big tech is racing to lock down the execution layer through infrastructure. OpenAI is reportedly negotiating a $60 billion funding round involving NVIDIA, Microsoft, and Amazon. Amazon alone potentially contributing $50 billion. At the same time, OpenAI has committed to spending $38 billion on server capacity from Amazon over the coming years, a form of infrastructure lock-in, not just equity alignment. At this point, AI has become a game for players who can absorb massive cash burn while maintaining economic control. OpenAI is estimated to be burning $17 billion per year. Microsoft reports that roughly 45% of booked revenue remains unrecognized, much of it tied to large AI contracts. The execution layer is being built with enormous capital commitments and long-term obligations, not with free trials or glossy storytelling. Taken together, the conclusion is stark. The age of tools is over. Startups must prove outcomes, corporate projects must escape strategy theater, and big tech is deploying tens of billions of dollars to own the execution layer itself. Asia now faces a crossroads: continue using human labor to operate Western tools, or use AI to automate its own manufacturing and service strengths to directly produce outcomes. This shift from software to execution does not stop at lines of code. It is now colliding head-on with the hard limits of the physical world. Asia fragments in the race for outcomes. Asia presents a different picture altogether. The outcome economy is not unfolding evenly across the region. It is fragmenting along lines of data ownership, capital markets, and social constraints. In South Korea, the game is shaped by standards and trust. The country has introduced what is widely seen as the world's first comprehensive AI policy. This policy requires AI-generated content to be clearly labeled. It also mandates human oversight in high-impact areas such as nuclear energy. While the US and China focus on capital intensity and scale, South Korea has chosen a different race. That race is becoming the safest and most trustworthy AI governance environment. South Korea is also emerging as a hotspot for physical AI. Startup World is developing the RLDX model. This is a VLA system designed to control robotic hands for industrial tasks like pick and place. The company focuses on upper body dexterity with 15 degrees of freedom. This is the minimum needed to realistically mimic human motion. World's key advantage lies in its data moat. Strategic partners such as SK Telecom, LG Electronics, CJ Logistics, and Lada Hotel provide real-world industrial data. This is something Western players lack compared to their dominance in text data. The company splits its system into a specialist branch for high-speed execution and a generalist branch for long-term planning. It is a clear signal. In physical AI, the outcome layer belongs to those who control real operational data. In China, physical AI is scaling rapidly. The country already holds around 40% of the global robotics market. Hiring in humanoid robotics surged 400% in just the first 5 months of 2025. While NVIDIA CEO Jensen Huang has predicted that 2026 will be the ChatGPT moment for physical AI, the sector still faces a hard constraint. Robots do not have an equivalent of the internet as a ready-made data source. Companies must build their own data sets from factories, ports, and logistics hubs. This is slow, capital-intensive work. Southeast Asia operates on a different rhythm. According to Epson Southeast Asia, the region continues to favor task-specific industrial robots over humanoids. This is due to abundant labor supply, which weakens the economic case for full automation. Singapore-based LionsBot, for example, finds most of its customers in Europe. In Europe, labor shortages are acute, pressures Southeast Asia has not yet fully experienced. That said, niche models are gaining traction. Neptune runs underwater cleaning robots in 61 ports worldwide under a pay-per-use model. This highlights how outcome-based automation can work even in labor-rich regions if the economic structure is right. At the capital markets layer, Asia is also repositioning for the execution era. Singapore and Nasdaq are launching a dual listing bridge from mid-2026. Firms like Neom, Carsum, and Shopback stand to benefit by accessing U.S. capital alongside Asian investors. While the regulatory downside of failing on Nasdaq remains significant, this framework provides a much-needed exit infrastructure for the region. In Vietnam, Wall Street is no longer the default dream. Companies are increasingly looking toward Hong Kong and Singapore. Green and Smart Mobility is considering a Hong Kong IPO at a valuation of around $20 billion in 2027. Gene Solutions is evaluating Hong Kong or Singapore. VNG withdrew its U.S. filing in under 6 months. VinFast, after going public via SPAC, has seen its market capitalization fall roughly 25-fold from its peak. India, meanwhile, is stuck with an exit problem. Despite attracting billions in venture capital, liquidity remains frozen. IPO activity is inconsistent, and M&A remains thin. Only 136 deals were completed in 2025. Secondary share sales are clogged by taxation. Secondary buyers can face effective tax burdens of 70 to 80% of profits. Taken as a whole, Asia is moving at multiple speeds. South Korea is building trust. China is capturing scale. Southeast Asia is waiting for labor pressure. Singapore and Vietnam are rebuilding exit pathways. The outcome layer is arriving. And the real question is, who owns real data, real capital markets, and real exit mechanisms? As the outcome economy leaves the screen and enters the physical world, we move into the next front. AI collides with physics. When the real world refuses to move at software speed. If the first 3 parts showed AI steadily taking over the execution layer of the digital economy, then this week's developments point to a much harder limit. AI may act autonomously, but the physical world does not stretch itself to match software timelines. The outcome economy still has to pass through very old realities. Satellites must actually be launched. Batteries must endure real heat. Safety regulations cannot follow a ship fast and patch later mindset. The clearest example this week came from space. SpaceX submitted a proposal to the U.S. Federal Communications Commission seeking approval to deploy up to 1 million satellites. This effectively turns Earth's orbit into a kind of orbital data center. In space, solar energy is nearly limitless, and cooling is far cheaper than on the ground. In all of human history, only about 25,000 satellites have ever been launched. So SpaceX's proposal is not just a scale-up, it is a reimagining of where AI infrastructure might physically live in the future. But physical reality immediately pulled the story back to Earth. Amazon was forced to ask the FCC for a 24-month extension after failing to meet the deadline to deploy more than 1,600 satellites by mid-2026. Project Kuiper has run into obstacles that software cannot fix. manufacturing disruptions, launch vehicle failures, limited launch sites, and logistical bottlenecks. Despite a target of over 3,000 satellites and a budget exceeding $10 billion, Amazon has had to concede a hard truth. Space infrastructure does not move at startup speed. These two developments form a striking contrast. On one side, SpaceX is asking permission to leap straight to 1 million satellites as the backbone of orbital AI infrastructure. On the other, Amazon is still struggling to get a few thousand into orbit due to launch capacity limits. The outcome economy may extend into space, but physics keeps its own tempo. This same collision is playing out in industries that once seemed ready to take off, such as air taxis. After more than a decade of promotion and billions of dollars in investment, no major Western electric vertical takeoff and landing company has yet secured full aviation certification for commercial passenger service. The issue is not whether these aircraft can fly, but whether they can meet aviation's uncompromising safety standards. Roughly one catastrophic failure per billion flight hours. Companies like Joby and Archer may look impressive in promotional videos, but real-world operation requires certification on par with a Boeing aircraft. Lithium-ion batteries still cap practical range at around 30 to 80 kilometers. In hot, humid climates like Dubai or Bengaluru, battery degradation accelerates sharply. Ticket prices remain closer to Uber Black than mass transit, far from the democratized future promised between 2020 and 2022. In response, the most pragmatic players are pivoting toward the pure logic of the outcome economy. Indian startup E-Plane has said its first certified aircraft will be an air ambulance, not a taxi. The reasoning is straightforward. In Bengaluru, an ambulance can take over an hour to travel just a few kilometers. If an eVTOL can cut that to 10 minutes, a real problem is solved. This is the outcome economy in its rawest form, not flying for the future, but flying to save lives today. The deepest frontier of this collision lies in biology. Startup Spaceborne United is preparing to launch a micro-IVF laboratory into orbit aboard a SpaceX Falcon 9 to test whether human embryos and eggs can survive in microgravity. Scientists warn that radiation may cause infertility, that microgravity affects sperm motility, and that egg structure could be compromised. Yet, if humanity is serious about becoming a spacefaring civilization, reproduction beyond Earth may prove decisive. Here, AI is not directly creating life, but it accelerates the expansion logic. As computation, autonomy, and ambition leave the planet's surface, the ultimate constraints are no longer user interfaces or inference costs. They are biological limits, aviation regulations, and launch capacity. The deeper lesson of this week is clear. AI can turn software into an executing entity. But the moment it leaves the screen and enters the physical world, it must pay in energy, time, and the inherent slowness of infrastructure. We are entering a phase where the race is no longer about which agent is smarter, but about who can deliver outcomes in a world with friction. And it is precisely at that point of friction that, this week, the resistance began to show. When the outcome economy ran headfirst into the limits of labor, capital, and cost discipline. Labor and capital, quiet adjustments. A growing number of signals suggest that companies are recalibrating how they operate as costs rise and demand becomes harder to predict. Peloton has confirmed it will cut around 11% of its workforce, mostly in engineering and enterprise solutions, aiming to save $100 million in costs. Hardware sales continue to weaken as users return to traditional gyms, while the company is still dealing with the fallout from a recall of nearly 878,000 Bike Plus units over safety concerns. Notably, these layoffs come even as Peloton has rolled out new AI-powered features, underscoring that the current priority is not technological expansion, but tighter control over operating costs. At the infrastructure layer, AI-driven demand is still generating new contracts, but with far stricter efficiency requirements. Samsung SDI has confirmed a battery supply agreement in the United States, which analysts link to Tesla's energy storage business. Documents suggest the deal could be worth up to 3 trillion won, reflecting the growing need for stable power storage as data centers and AI systems scale. In these negotiations, the emphasis is no longer just on capacity, but on safety and long-term operating costs. In the labor market, new data points to clearer segmentation within white-collar work. Entry-level roles, especially those focused on document processing and repetitive tasks, are seeing slower hiring. This trend is most visible in software engineering and customer support, where AI has begun absorbing basic workloads. Researchers caution, however, that the data remains fragmented and does not yet support claims of widespread job cuts. What stands out is that many companies are still hiring younger workers, but for different roles than before. Fewer positions are purely procedural. More require coordination, oversight, and decision-making. Entry-level jobs are not disappearing, they are changing shape. Stock market movements reflect similar adjustments. Shares of major enterprise software companies continue to face pressure. SAP, Service, Now, Salesforce, and Workday have all posted notable declines, dragging the overall U.S. software sector down by roughly 10%. While AI is often cited as a disruptive risk, analysts point instead to broader economic conditions. Software spending is slowing after years of rapid growth. Some argue that AI will push companies to build more software internally. But in practice, most firms still prefer off-the-shelf solutions, especially given the conceptual flaws and hidden failure modes that remain difficult to detect in today's AI tools. From this perspective, the current pressure appears cyclical rather than a structural collapse. At the macro level, currency movements are beginning to weigh more heavily on investment decisions. The Japanese yen, Chinese yuan, and Indian rupee all remain undervalued against the US dollar. While this supports exports, it also raises the cost of imported technology, energy, and equipment. Inputs that are increasingly critical for AI infrastructure and data centers. These developments are not dramatic on their own. Taken together, however, they point to a shared reality. Companies, investors, and labor markets are quietly adjusting to the real costs of deploying AI at scale. AI is no longer a promise. This week's briefing closes with a consistent message. AI is moving out of its role as a support tool and into the position of an execution system. In commerce, AI is beginning to sit directly between buyers and sellers, controlling the moment of decision. Among startups, companies that sell interfaces alone are gradually being filtered out, replaced by models that sell outcomes. Across Asia, the outcome economy is spreading unevenly, shaped by data access, labor conditions, and capital liquidity. As AI leaves the screen and enters satellites, robots, and biology, the hard limits of physics begin to impose their own rhythm on the race. What stands out is that most of the current pressure does not come from how smart AI has become, but from a more practical question: who will operate, fund, and take responsibility as these systems expand into the real world? Capital is becoming more selective. Labor is shifting slowly but steadily. Projects that cannot demonstrate operational efficiency are being pushed aside. In response, platforms are racing to lock down infrastructure layers, startups are fighting to own execution niches, and governments are moving quickly to erect regulatory guardrails. The final question is no longer what AI can do. It is this: when software no longer just answers questions but takes action on its own, who owns the outcomes it produces? And more importantly, what role will humans play in an economy where results are valued more highly than process? That is likely a question we will return to many times. Thank you for watching BizIntel. See you in next week's video.